if we're looking at our day as a progression, we now have established our story, we have our target market dialed in, we have formulated a product that delivers benefits and is also flavored to perfection. Where do we go from here? It's time to sell. So what I've learned from this next group is that scaling your brand in today's marketplace doesn't happen by chance, nor does it happen simply because you have a budget. Scaling your brand can only happen with an intentional design and the most updated best practices. This is the world they live in day to day as they drive revenue for their customers, which means they know how, where, when, and how much to advertise. You can consider this the definitive guide to scaling your brand online. Please welcome from the Snow Agency, CEO and co-founder Daniel Snow, COO and co-founder Jonathan Snow, and Director of Brand Strategy, Color Reinholz.
Hey. Hi. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Snow. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Snow Agency. John, my brother, is the CEO of the Snow Agency and also co-founder in Color, who built some internal brands with us. So just to give an abbreviated bio on myself and John and Color. We've been building online brands for the past decade. Everything ranging from the influencer space, which is how I got my start, building large communities on social media, eventually getting into learning how to monetize those audiences. So launched an affiliate, self-serve ad platform back in 2014 that gained a lot of traction. And then eventually led our intersection to launching our own brands. So before the agency, me and John were focused on building our own brands. We had a portfolio of brands doing between $25 to $30 million a year in revenue, sold the brands, and then that's how we got into the agency. So after figuring out the formula of how to launch and scale brands, that's how we're here today, scaling brands online. And also I know that there is a wide breadth of different people in the room, ranging from brand owners to manufacturers, et cetera. So we try to keep it as high level as possible, and hopefully we can get a takeaway from that. Oh, there we go. So what we're going to be going over, number one is performance marketing, direct response versus brand marketing, which is a lot of conflict internally for many brands as they launch and as they start growing. Two is how to grow your brand online. So dealing with the current digital landscape, iOS 14, which was the biggest impact in the advertising industry really in the past decade or really ever. And a lot of the traffic sources we use to grow brands, some of the tech stack we use to optimize the brands and allow them to perform. Third, we have e-commerce optimization, which is oftentimes one of the most underlooked but highest leverage touch points for brands on how to optimize your website for conversion rate, average order value, et cetera, which has a large impact on performance. And finally, the future of digital. So what are our predictions for the future of online advertising and growing brands online? And then we'll get into some of our app recommendations, which we're going to be going over throughout the presentation that you can take a picture of, and then finally get into Q&A. So first slide. Just want to start this one off for especially new brand owners. This is oftentimes one of the biggest intersection of conflict, of figuring out your messaging, even when you're making your website. There's a big difference from making it pretty and aesthetic and branded to making it, creating it for actually performance and trying to get that optimized conversion rate. And especially with how you're creating your content for ads, is also a big conflict point. What we typically find performs on the performance side is oftentimes on the brand side where a lot of conflict goes. So especially on the performance side, more raw content, a lot of the ad platforms today are rewarding conflict that looks native to the platforms. So a lot of the ads you see look native to the platform, specifically TikTok, Instagram, etc. We're going to get to more of that, and combining those. So we'll go to the next one. So here we can see where risk-taking pays off. So specifically, Duolingo, large enterprise brand, and how they got really risky with their TikTok content, giving a lot more of a raw approach, and how that ended up paying off, and a lot of the awards that they won. So creating a brand doesn't always have to just think of how in the past, what is the prettiest brand I can create. There's time to take risks when you're on the ad side. Here we have an example of Chlorov, one of our in-house brands. The time where it's better to focus on the brand side is the actual grid itself. Next, we go into the digital marketing pipeline. So this is really just the traffic sources we use, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this before, but the reason why we put content above all the traffic sources is because oftentimes this is neglected, and it's also the biggest lever for performance. So just like Stefan went over earlier, it all starts with market research, testimonial mining, competitor analysis. Once again, this is oftentimes the most underlooked part that brands, large and small, simply don't use. So we already went over a lot of that, but what are the unique value propositions? Who are the ideal target personas? There could be multiple. What are the potential pain points, desires, et cetera, that you can leverage when it's time to actually start creating content? So after using this as your first step, now you can go into working with creators, giving all that data that you found to your current customer base when they're creating testimonials for your brand, different content, et cetera. So we have UGC creators that's oftentimes used. Studio content is another form of content that works really well on ads, at times a lot more expensive. And finally, once we have our content, we can get into the traffic sources. So top of funnel, just TikTok ads, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, where you're really trying to create the demand for your product. After those customers have potentially heard about your brand from the ads, they begin searching for your product on Google, where you're trying to capture that intent. They might have followed your page on different socials from the ads, is another way of trying to keep your brand top of mind. It's converting them. Finally, we have website, email, SMS, retargeting, et cetera, where they might have been to your website a few times. They might be already in the funnel of the automated flow that you have set up. You might be sending messaging out frequently, and they might need that one final push from an incentive or reward or something else to get them to making a purchase. Finally, we have the last stage, which is customers who have already made a purchase. This is your highest valuable bucket on the flow, and oftentimes the most neglected, believe it or not. Before iOS 14, it was really easy for brands to acquire customers, even at scale. But after iOS 14, with the rise of ads, et cetera, it has become increasingly hard to acquire customers profitably on that first purchase. So now there's a huge push for retention marketing and also for pushing brand customers into subscription, et cetera. This can only be done when you provide a great customer experience to the customer. So focusing on that messaging and providing that great customer experience will increase lifetime values and allow you to spend more money to acquire a customer and outbid other competitors. So we talked a lot about content, and this will always be the biggest bottleneck for brands, whether it's new brands, large brands, small brands, et cetera. For new brands, it's how do I get content? For large brands, it's constantly refreshing content, because you might have a winning content you spent even $1 million plus on, and over time it stops performing. So you need to constantly be refreshing content, testing new content, testing new hooks, testing new angles. What we find works is the most consistent way is user-generated content. The reason why is because it's the cheapest, it's the quickest, and in today's day and age, especially if you're a brand at scale, content seems to stagnate faster than ever. So working with creators in an affordable manner really does a great job in getting that consistent performance and allows you to test different hooks, et cetera. Photo content is another one in today's day and age. It's all about video. and oftentimes photo gets neglected. So there's many different types of photo content. Talked about it before, but the highly produced kind of lifestyle content isn't always the best type of content that works for photo content. There's many different types of photo content that we'll get into. And finally, so how do I get content? So incentivizing your current customer base is a great way to start. It could be free products, discount, money, etc. Creating a community is really beneficial for this reason. So a Facebook group, a Discord, if it's relevant to your brand and that type of target audience is really great. Another great way is through automated apps like Okendo is one we specifically use. There's many others out there, Yotpo, Stamped, etc. And essentially, after customers place an order, it sends an automated message for them to create a video that you can then use in your marketing. There's also platforms out there, like Incense is one that we specifically use, which allows you to connect to tens of thousands of creators in essentially any type of vertical or interest. This is obviously more expensive, still affordable, but the advantage here is that these creators are creating content really for a lot of them as their profession, and there's a lot less back and forth needed. There's a lot less hand-holding. They know the type of content that brands want, need, that performs on ads. And finally, there's creative studios like our own that can take the heavy lifting off of brands if they don't want to be the one that's writing scripts for creators, leveraging the market research like we mentioned before. Also, another really great tool, which is completely free to use, is the TikTok Creator Marketplace that TikTok themselves built that just allows brands to connect to creators. Here are just some, so we talked a lot about content, and what we always try to find are what we call templates. So when we find a template that works, we find it doesn't matter if you're selling a supplement or an iron or perfume. These are just types of a video or photo ads that work for what we find really any type of audience. Just how you're going about it, that might be a bit different. So let's see if these videos, oh, there we go. So we just turn the audio off because it'd be hard to listen and me talk at the same time. But there's the problem solution ad. So once again, leveraging that market research, finding that core problem that customers can resonate with, and then presenting your product as a solution. Textile, so this, once again, this is another type of problem solution, but just showing you there's so many different ways you can iterate. So showcasing that in an organic manner, people texting each other about a problem that they can resonate with. Once again, showing the product as a solution. Oh. Okay, I guess that one doesn't work. Us versus them. So putting your product up against your competitors and industry leaders and showing how you differentiate is a really good way to showcase that differentiation. Once again, just a style of ad that we find works really well. Voiceover, you obviously can't hear the voice, but once again, just showcasing, it's just a different format that you can use in yeah, one of our clients can eat the dog food. Social proof, so showcasing how there is a positive review on the product and having, once again, an organic way of talking about the product and further reiterating some of the unique value propositions. So here we have TikTok. So TikTok has been the shiny object, and rightfully so, for really the online advertising industry over the last 18 to 24 months, and even more so over really the last 6 months. So if you're a brand today and you're not leveraging TikTok, you need to do that. It is the best source I've seen, especially from the organic manner. If you guys want to keep costs low, I've never seen a platform that's able to generate as much revenue as TikTok organically without even getting into the ads yet. We have some clients doing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month completely just on the organic side, just leveraging creators to post about their product and getting on the For You page, which is really the main mission of TikTok. So as we discussed earlier, TikTok is unique in the sense that really all the content on TikTok is organic, it's raw content, filmed on an iPhone. You're not going to see much of the highly produced studio content there. And what's unique here is that you also can't leverage your ads and video content on other platforms on TikTok. It needs to be native to TikTok. And because this platform is so creator-driven, you need to have a really good strategy in place to work with creators on an ongoing manner. A really good strategy we're seeing is putting creators on monthly retainers, et cetera, creating consistent content for your brand so that you can leverage that on paid, on organic social, on their page, and it's really what we're finding the formula to success. So if you're doing a really good job here on getting creator content, this will allow your organic social to have a lot of success in building that organic presence, which we found is really crucial. And what's different about Facebook and Instagram ads is where the presence of your page and having that audience on the ad side was not as important. On TikTok, it seems to be very important in really just how TikTok is favoring your ads in their ad platform. Finally, once again, it's all about being native to the ad platform on TikTok, not just on the video content, but also the ads themselves. What we're finding is really best practice for the ad that you're using is what TikTok calls Spark Posts. So this is the best type of ad to amplify content on your brand's page, on your creator's page, etc. And once again, as you're scrolling on TikTok, it looks like the ad that's being served is from, if it's from the creator page, might not even look like an ad. So this creates the network and FOMO effect where consumers can get that next viral product. They're interested in it. They see hundreds of thousands of views, comments, likes, etc. And once again, it's all about just really being native to the platform on both organic and paid. And pass the John.
All right, so now that Dan took everybody through the marketing funnel and took everyone through the styles of content that feeds the funnel, now how do we measure performance online? So here are the main marketing KPIs that we look at inside the ad platform all the way through the website. So the first one, return on ad spend. That's everyone's favorite by nature. That's what I call the vanity metric. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're putting all your eggs in this basket. So return on ad spend is simply a single platform metric. It's what you'll see Facebook reporting when you open up the ad platform. Same thing with TikTok, YouTube. Now, the weaknesses with ROAS are twofold. So first, return on ad spend is only giving you how much it costs on that first purchase, what return you're getting on that first purchase. It does not take into account customer lifetime value. So if you are a CPG brand, which many of you in here are, and you're looking at return on ad spend, this doesn't give you any of the signal into what that lifetime value of a customer was. You might acquire that first customer unprofitably, but the lifetime value that you're reaping, from those repeat purchases over time is significant, and that's what ROAS is not giving you the signal into. Another thing, post iOS 14, these platforms are essentially guessing what your return on ad spend is. Because we can't track and attribute purchases effectively, if you're looking at the ROAS that your platforms are showing you, you're essentially flying in the dark. So you need to use third-party tracking and attribution solutions, which I'll get into. But the thing that we really look at now in today's world is MER, marketing efficiency ratio. So this is actually return on ad spend, but an aggregate on your entire store. So if you're a Shopify brand, you essentially look at your Shopify total store revenue in that day, divide it by all of the ad spend through all of your ad platforms, and this kind of solves for that tracking and attribution issue, but it also gives you signal into that lifetime value. So you're looking at revenue beyond that first purchase. So that's why we're really focusing most on marketing efficiency ratio today. CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions. So CPM varies between platform to platform, brand to brand. Typically, TikTok right now has the cheapest CPM. Sub $10 is pretty much the source of truth for every single brand. Facebook, we're looking at $20 to $40 CPMs, but you shouldn't be scared off by the rising costs. Facebook is still a very effective platform, probably the most effective platform, and probably will be forever. So cost per impressions, this is important to keep in mind because you are paying for impressions, views. You're not paying for the clicks. So as competition in these ad auctions increase, the cost for your ads will keep increasing, and that's why it's important to keep focusing on how do I increase customer lifetime value. Click-through rate. So this is something that you can actually control. CPMs, you're kind of held hostage to the ad platforms and the competition on it. Click-through rate is how you offset rising CPMs. So if you can focus on how to get higher click-through rates, this will offset all of those rising costs, and this will actually give you insights into how your creatives are performing. A good benchmark to look at for click-through rate, anything under 1% should be a red flag. It means something is wrong with your creative. Either it's not engaging enough, your hook isn't strong enough, maybe the demographic isn't resonating, and you've got to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to increase those click-through rates. 1 to 2% is okay. 2 to 4% is pretty good. Anything over 4% is pretty much hitting a home run. So keep an eye on those benchmarks. Then as your customers click through and they get to your website, the first thing you need to look at is your add to cart ratio. The benchmark that I look at, 10%, is a good benchmark to hold your brand to. Anything under 10% means there is some type of friction point why customers aren't adding the products to cart enough. So this could be that your price is too expensive, maybe your competitors are selling it for cheaper, and now customers are bouncing from your website to go look up where else they could buy a similar product for a cheaper price. Or maybe your product detail page isn't strong enough. Maybe the UVPs, the unique value props, aren't clear enough to the consumer. The consumers don't understand what problem that your brand is solving or that product is solving. So maybe you have to redo some copy on those product detail pages. Customer acquisition cost, this is just simply the cost of acquiring a new customer. This is very important to compare to lifetime value, as I mentioned before. And CAC is a form of a CPA. So CPA is a cost per action. It's a more general term. So if you're doing lead gen, cost per lead is a CPA. If you're doing registrations for some type of event, cost per registration, cost per download, so on and so forth. Those are CPAs. And now cost per click combines CPM and CTR. The benchmark here is $1. You should not be running with a higher CPC than $1. So the way to improve that and get your CPCs lower is simply to focus on what you can control, get those click-through rates higher. That'll make your cost per click much cheaper. All right, so now that your customers get on a website, where should your brand be hosted? There are many platforms out there you can build a brand. There's BigCommerce, there's Magento, there's WooCommerce, but our personal favorites, Shopify. If we're launching any direct-to-consumer brand today, it's going to be on Shopify. It's the turnkey solution, lowest barrier to entry for direct-to-consumer brands. Other options require more developer resources, much higher investments up front to launch your brands, but also to maintain your brands as well. And the reason why Shopify is much lower barrier to entry is because of its robust app ecosystem. It's light years ahead of any other platform. All new apps that you see on Shopify are built on Shopify first, and then years down the road, they figure out how to get on BigCommerce and so on and so forth. So all these apps that you can get on Shopify, they can increase your average order value, they can increase conversion rates, subscriptions, anything that you need for your brand. There's likely a Shopify app available that you simply have to just download, and it's almost a plug-and-play solution. You usually don't need any developer resources or skills to launch a Shopify store. Now, there's many different plans on Shopify. If you're a brand doing a few $100,000 a year in GMV, it makes the most sense to be on Shopify Plus, which is the highest tier, because of all the features it unlocks. So Shopify Plus has been a main focus for Shopify in recent times. Shopify Audiences is one of those new features they just announced. It's still in beta, but it's available only to Shopify Plus brands. And what this is, in 2021, over 500 million unique customers purchased from a Shopify brand. And now Shopify is hashing all this customer data. They understand which brands have which customers in the market for certain products. And they're actually giving brands now, if you're selling women's shoes and you want to build a Shopify audience, Shopify will give you a hashed customer list, anonymized of course, from all of the other Shopify stores that have customers who are in the market for women's shoes. And now this directly integrates into your ad platform. Right now it's only available for Facebook, Instagram. So this syncs right into Facebook as a custom audience. Now you have a new target audience with high intent customers in the market for your products. But the second way you can leverage this now, so if they give you 100,000 people, you can actually use this as a seed audience to create a lookalike audience and expand that to up to 10 million people on Facebook. So now you can find even more people that look like that original seed audience that you got from Shopify. A second cool thing is Shopify Promise, which is another feature they just rolled out a week or two ago. This was from their acquisition of Deliverr for roughly $2 billion. And this was to essentially go toe-to-toe with Amazon and compete with Amazon Prime. So Shopify Fulfillment Network is now vast. It's spread throughout the country, and Deliverr enabled this. Now Shopify can offer 2-day free shipping to any customers that purchase from a Shopify Plus brand that is using the Shopify Fulfillment Network. Now the cool thing here is that on Amazon, Obviously, everyone here is an Amazon Prime customer. You know that they keep increasing those membership costs year over year. I don't even know what it's at now, probably over $140 or something. Shopify Plus, though, it's a free, they don't require the customers to pay any membership fee. So they enable 2-day shipping for free. And brands that offer this get that Shopify Promise badge placed on their website, just much like the Amazon Prime one. This increases conversion rates, increases that customer experience because now there's transparent shipping and delivery times. They know that when they're on this website, if they see that Promise badge, it's going to be free 2-day shipping, and now they're much more likely to convert. So this is a great response to competing with Amazon Prime. All right, so top of funnel, Dan touched on this, the 3 pillars being creator, organic, and paid. This is so important that I'm going to repeat it again. You shouldn't even start your paid media strategy if you don't have a creator strategy and an organic strategy. So creator is going to give you all of that content, the quantity of content that you need. Quality is always important, but quantity is always more important because of ad fatigue, and you always need to have enough creatives at your disposal to keep rotating through and testing on your ad platforms to find that winner. Sometimes, actually most of the time, it'll take you 19 failed creatives to get to that 20th, which is then the winning creative that you can scale for months on end. And it's very important. If you don't have that creator focus, you only come in with 5 pieces of creative and you hand it over to your marketing team. They run through it, and then none of them worked, and now you have no creative left, and it's time to go back to the drawing board, and then that's a bottleneck. So always have that routine influx of creatives. We recommend at least 8 new creatives per month, and we purely use UGC for this, so have that creator strategy in place. The best thing with creator is that it's not just for paid. It works really well on organic pages too, TikTok specifically, Instagram. You can repurpose all this creator content throughout your funnel. You can even put on your landing pages. So it is very versatile. All right, so organic is important as well because if you're running paid traffic, a lot of times consumers are getting very smart now. They want to know that the brand they're purchasing from is trustworthy. So they will actually click, instead of clicking through to the website, oftentimes they will click on the brand's page, go to the organic page, and if you don't have a strong presence there, you're not active, you're not posting on an almost daily basis, and things don't look right with the brand, they lose trust and they'll abandon and you won't convert. So you have to have that organic presence. And then paid top of funnel, our favorite top of funnel is Facebook and TikTok. YouTube is really good as well. Just I think there's more product market fit ramifications there. So Facebook and TikTok are 2 drivers of traffic for now, but YouTube is also really successful. Snapchat is more so brand awareness. We call it like the virtual billboard. We don't really use it for direct response conversions, but it still has its place if you're looking for brand awareness. Fall off traffic is very important to keep in mind. So top of funnel, all the platforms I just mentioned, that's where you're driving all the demand. And now a lot of the customers aren't ready to always convert immediately. It's not always an impulse purchase. Actually, most of the time, consumers are on a lunch break or they're in between conversations with their friends or whatever. They don't have time to purchase right then and there. A few days later, they might remember that they were interested in this product. They'll search you on Google. They'll search you on Amazon. If you don't have a paid search plan and you don't have a presence on a marketplace channel like Amazon or Walmart online, and your competitors do, guess what's going to happen? They're going to find your competitor and they're going to end up purchasing there. So we call the fall off traffic channels like this your insurance policy for your top of funnel traffic. If you're running top of funnel, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't have a strong fall off traffic strategy as well. And then retention marketing, same thing. So email, SMS, and push notifications are your 3 forms of retention marketing. For email, we think the gold standard is Klaviyo, SMS, Attentive Mobile, push notifications, we do web push through Aimtel, and mobile push through TapCart. What's cool about TapCart is that's where you can build your brand its own app that you can download on the App Store. So the best thing about this is when you do that, you can actually now send free mobile push notifications to all of the people who downloaded your app and generate incremental revenue. This is actually one of the untouched areas that we're seeing a ton of potential. Mobile push notifications, we're seeing that incremental lift every time we send a mobile push blast. You see that incremental boost in revenue immediately. So this is something that not a lot of brands are utilizing now. So if you don't have this strategy in place, I would definitely look into that. And retention marketing is always going to be your most efficient way to drive more revenue. Top of funnel traffic, we always keep talking about how the costs are rising and everything like that. Retention marketing should be representing 20 to 40% of your overall store revenue. If it's not, that means your retention marketing strategy is probably not working enough. So you need to focus here. And that's how you're going to increase customer lifetime value over the course of your brand's lifetime, whether it be for your consumers to repurchase that product again or to cross-sell them with different products you offer. Competition and costs are rising, like we've been saying. So we just look at the simple math equation here, CAC to LTV. If costs are rising and the numerator is rising, what needs to happen to LTV? Where should brands be focusing on? Should they be, is this, oh, the sky is falling, CAC's rising, let me shut down and just, hide in a corner? No. You need to focus on LTV. How do we increase LTV as much as CACs are rising, or even more? If you can increase LTV more than the CACs are rising, your brand is actually way better off now than it was before CACs were so expensive. So the best way to, outside of retention marketing, to increase LTV, figure out how to make your brand sticky and last long. And the best way to do that, a good first step, is community building. You'll see brands nowadays are not always about just selling so obviously. They're building a community, they're making their mission very clear, they're getting more vocal about what the brand is passionate about outside of the products. They kind of build that lifestyle that they want their consumers to embody, and you align these values in the community that you build, whether it be a Facebook group, a Discord community. You have incentives to get your customers into these communities and not just interact with the brand, but interact with each other. And this is how you make loyal customers. Phenomenal product is the second way. So first impression is always a lasting impression. It's not just the quality of the product, it's a quality of the brand experience, that first purchase experience. If you have an average product or a below average product or an average delivery experience or a post-purchase experience, your customers are not going to return. They're not going to come back for that second purchase. They're not going to try your other products, and that ultimately will sacrifice the longevity of your brand. So figure out how to deliver not just the best quality of products, but the best purchase experience as possible. Brand awareness, once again, you always want to be top of mind. There's a lot of noise out there today online on social media. Figure out how to get that brand awareness, always be top of mind with your consumers. And the easy way to do that is through creators. Just get your products in the hand of as many creators as you can so that a lot of people are seeing your products online. And as I mentioned before, the post-purchase experience, it's a blank canvas. Everyone focuses all their efforts on finally getting that purchase, and they forget about what happens after, right? So once they make that purchase, are you sending your customers transparent updates on when the order was fulfilled and left the warehouse, and then when it's out for delivery? If you're not, then customers are wondering, where is my order? And then they're going to start flooding your customer service with all these inquiries, and now they're having a bad experience because they don't know what's going on. So always be proactive about your approach with the post-purchase experience. It'll help that LTV. Omni-channel growth. So brands usually live in one of these three channels, either whether it be just purely online, purely retail, purely marketplace. The lines are really blurring now between all three of these, especially since retail is opening back up. You have the direct-to-consumer only brands that, now that things are opening back up, now they're starting to get into retail. You're driving demand online for these products, and guess what happens when someone saw that ad in the product in an ad, and the next day they're walking through CVS or Target, and they're like, oh yeah, I saw this really cool product, let me look for it on the shelves. If you're not in retail, but your competitors are, you just essentially paid for your competitor to get that free low-hanging fruit purchase. So one of these three things, is something that brands usually specialize in and then drift into the other three. But I think it's more important than ever to have a strategy long-term to ultimately conquer all three of these channels, especially because those lines are blurring. So you don't need to have a plan day one if you're launching a new brand. I would say ease into it, but have it on the roadmap for when it's right for your time, when's the right time for your brand to get into all three. Attribution. So iOS 14 screwed up the world of tracking and attribution. It's really hard to rely on the single channel platforms, right? So if you're looking in your TikTok dashboard, you're looking in your Facebook ads dashboard, you cannot rely on that return on ad spend. It's essentially guesswork at this point because of that tracking loss that we had. Facebook and TikTok are using mixed modeling to essentially guess where the purchases should be attributed, whether it's to the creative, to the ad set and the audience, or at the campaign level. It's essential guesswork, so you cannot rely solely on those first-party platforms. You need to start using Google Analytics more and other third-party solutions like a Triple Whale or Northbeam. At least now you have other sources of truth that are reporting what they feel is the right attribution, and now you're not flying in the dark and relying only on one party like a Facebook or a TikTok to analyze the performance of your brand. And iOS 14, this is what shook up the world of tracking and attribution. For those that are in digital marketing, you probably know this all too well, unfortunately. But for those of you that are not, I'm sure you've all seen that notification on the right side of your screen. And anytime you update an app on an Apple phone, you get this notification. Do you want the app to track you or not? Right? So this happened about a year ago is when iOS 14.5 rolled out, April of 2021. Full effects were truly felt a few months later, July, August timeframe. At that time, the numbers came out that 75% of people were declining tracking. So what this means is whenever you serve a Facebook ad, a TikTok ad, a YouTube ad, by the way, all platforms were affected equally. Everyone talks about Facebook. They only got all the attention because that's where a lot of the big ad dollars are relative to the other platforms. So if you opt out of tracking, but the person saw an ad on the Facebook app, they clicked through that ad and purchased on the brand's website, Facebook does not know now that that purchase happened because that person opted out of tracking. So that's where we lost a lot of the signal. That's why third-party solutions like a Triple Whale and Northbeam have really risen in the past year, and at least they serve as like the answer to iOS 14 and give you that extra level of knowledge to make informed decisions. Now, obviously, with Apple, rolling out this consumer privacy approach, Google, everyone's asking what's happening with Android. Now, Google's getting put on the spot. If Apple cares so much about consumer privacy, what is Google doing about this, right? So Google has been pretty evasive, very vague. They keep kicking down the can down the road years and years and years. We've been hearing about cookies disappearing for God knows how long. It still hasn't happened. They said it's coming. They said it's coming, but eventually it probably will come, right? And so they already announced, they said roughly in 2 years we're going to get rid of third-party cookies and we're going to get rid of the advertiser ID, which is essentially what happened with iOS 14. They were vague about it, though, but what they did say is that we will be working closely with advertisers, with agencies, with the big spenders on the platform to make sure that whatever update we do come up with, it does not disrupt advertising performance, right? So obviously they're incentivized not to destroy their own ad platform. So I'm not too concerned about this update, but it is something to keep an eye on, and we should start planning for a cookie-less, pixel-less world. Ad destinations. So this is an easy way. We talk about click-through rate a lot in creative testing, but how do we increase conversion rates? You don't want to send all of your top-of-funnel traffic to a product detail page. Why? Because it's bland. You can't really get into like persona marketing and test different ad angles and different pain points like you can on landing pages. So you want to test various different angles, and landing pages should always have a much higher conversion rate than a product detail page. And it's a very easy way to test this. So another cool thing with landing pages that you can do if your brand has PR, you can convert any PR article with Sniply into a shoppable landing page. So this is great for social proof. Say you drive an ad to a men's journal, the PR placement you had, and you can actually link that and through Sniply so that people can click through there and purchase on your website. So take a look at Sniply. Content hub marketing. This is something that's growing in popularity, something that we're using a ton at the Snow Agency right now. Essentially, we built numerous of our own buzz feeds, right? And that's what we call Content Hub. So essentially just like a viral news feed, we put a lot of our clients, we make articles about our clients organically and insert them on these BuzzFeed-like websites. But then what we do is we actually serve ads from, so the daily post here is our Content Hub. This is like our BuzzFeed, right? So we serve ads from the daily post because this does not look like an aggressive sales approach. So ad fatigue is a real thing right now. It's subconscious. Anytime you're on your Facebook feed, you're scrolling through, you see something from a brand, you know it's an ad, you subconsciously just scroll right past it because of ad fatigue. But if you see something interesting coming from an influencer's page, right, and you don't follow this influencer and you're wondering why they're on your timeline, and you're more likely to stop scrolling and take a look at what's going on. Same thing with Content Hub. This is like a blog style thing. So for this one, for example, was top 5 moisturizers for women in 2021. If you are a woman in the market for a moisturizer and you see this, and it's 2021 just hit, you're very likely to stop and you'll take a look here. You won't see any brand mentioned whatsoever. Looks very organic, looks like a blog article. You're inclined to click through there and take a look at what's recommended for 2021. What do I not know about that I want to take part in? So you'll see there the first thing that is recommended with stellar reviews, that is one of our clients. And you ultimately click through that because you want to get the top one, the top product recommendation with the highest rating, and then that takes you to the brand's website. Conversion rates, click-through rates, much higher on this style of ad in 2022. Payment solutions. This is probably the least sexy topic that you could think of in digital marketing, but the lowest hanging fruit in a way you can increase ROI or your bottom line immediately with the flip of a switch. Merchant fees is something that most brand owners never even think about. If you're paying more than 2.5% plus 30 cents a transaction, you got to go back to your merchant processor and renegotiate those rates, especially if you have volume. The higher the volume you have, the lower you can get merchant fees. Many brands do not know that you can negotiate these on an annual basis, especially if that volume is increasing. This increases bottom line immediately. I've seen brand owners come to me with 3.5% merchant processing fees. We knocked off 1% to get them down to 2.5%, and now they got an extra 1% of their bottom line back immediately. So this is something to look into. Recurring revenue, Recharge. This is one of those Shopify apps we talked about for subscriptions. So if you're a CPG brand and those products get replenished, get it powered through a subscription like Recharge. One cool hack that we found, if your product is a monthly type subscription and it's only a monthly dose, have the charge go through every 28 days and have that rebill happen every 28 days so that they get their products in time by the time their last month's supply ran out. But also, it's not just a good consumer experience. By doing this, you get an extra month of rebills in that calendar year. So now you got an extra, you got a 13th month of bills out of a 12-month calendar year. So that's an easy hack to get some more revenue. Buy now, pay later options are a must for any single brand online. If you take a look at the right side of my screen, I'm pretty active on Twitter. So if you're interested in digital marketing and e-commerce, you can scan that QR code just to follow me, see all the insights and mini case studies that I post, similar to this one here on Buy Now, Pay Later. So we looked at a 30-day window on a CPG brand. We were testing Klarna and Afterpay being both available as checkout options on a brand store. And so what we saw is Klarna had a 10% representation of overall store revenue, Affirm roughly 2%, Buy Now, Pay Later represent 12% of store revenue. Now that's pretty amazing, but the coolest part is if you take a look at average order value at the bottom, customers who purchased with a credit card or PayPal or just a regular form of payment, average order value is only $58. If you look at the Buy Now, Pay Later purchases like Klarna and Affirm, average order value is roughly 100% higher. Average order value with Klarna, $93 roughly, Affirm, $88. This is significant. So if you're not offering this, you have to figure out which one, and it doesn't even matter which one essentially you do offer. We see Klarna and Afterpay having the best results. As long as you're offering some form of Buy Now, Pay Later, that has to happen. All right, now Color will take you through website performance.
All right, so now that we are officially driving a ton of traffic to your site, how do you turn those prospects into converting paying customers? So one of the biggest things is really taking a look at your site and the performance. So some of the e-commerce KPIs that we're always examining is obviously conversion rate. Benchmark for that tends to be around 2% or higher. Typically, if it's below that, that indicates that there's a real issue on site, or it could also be due to the quality of traffic that you're driving. AOV is your average order value. As John just pointed out, there's a lot of ways to kind of increase that, and we'll also be going over that in my section as well. LTV, customer lifetime value, and then add to cart rate. So add to cart rate is actually really interesting because this can also help you identify if there's an issue on site as a customer goes through their journey to conversion. So for example, if you notice that add to cart is very low, this could indicate that perhaps your CTA is not working on site. Or if you see add to cart is very high, but your conversion rate is very low, there could be an issue as far as your checkout goes. So just keeping those top of mind can help diagnose some of the issues that you might see. MRR, monthly recurring revenue, is extremely important for any subscription-based brand. This is something you're always going to be looking at, as well as your customer churn rate. Obviously, with CPMs and CAC rising, you may not actually be profitable on the first purchase that a customer makes. So the idea is that you retain them and their lifetime value grows and makes up for that. Returning customer rate, this is something that I always take a look at just to have an understanding of the blend of traffic that we're getting. because returning customer rate, obviously they're familiar with the brand, they're going to be a higher intent, and you want to see about 30% minimum, 30 to 40% minimum of your monthly revenue coming from repeat traffic. Bounce rate, again, a very great indicator of how relevant your landing pages are. If somebody bounces off your page, if you have a high bounce rate, and that basically just means that they bounced without browsing further or taking any action on your website. So obviously that's probably a content issue or a relevancy issue, so I would go back through the creative process and just make sure that your message is actually resonating with the audience that you're targeting. Okay, so some great e-commerce tips. These are all going to be around kind of conversion, optimization, as well as AOV. First off is take a mobile-first approach. This is one of the things that I see a ton with, even with very large established brands, is that everybody is checking the website on their desktop rather than pulling out their cell phone and checking the mobile experience. If you're running paid social ads, 90% plus of your traffic is obviously going to be coming from mobile devices. So your website could be beautiful on desktop, but if it's not optimized on mobile, it's not going to perform well. An added bonus to designing mobile first is Google actually rewards you for this. So as they look at your site, the quality ranking, all of that, mobile is one of the biggest weighted factors. So obviously there's a lot of varying degree of knowledge in the room as far as digital goes. So I'm going to kind of assume that you know nothing. So let's say that you're a retail heavy brand and you're looking to kind of transform into an online brand. I think it's really important to kind of equate these two. So your normal retail experience, merchandising matters, right? And that's the exact same with your online store. Depending on how you merchandise your store, it's going to have a direct impact on your revenue and your AOV. So if you look at the in-store versus online, your storefront is essentially your homepage. Your signage is your navigation, your hero, your header. And what used to be customer service is now your search and FAQ. And then cashier. We all have had the experience of standing in line for a very long time, and as you stand there, you start to reevaluate all of your purchase decisions. And you're thinking, do I really need this? It's a little bit expensive. Do I want to wait? Do I have time? So every minute that your customer takes to purchase, there's an opportunity for them to leave. So that applies very, very much in the online ecosystem. So something to keep in mind there. We always recommend offering an upsell. Not only are upsells just a great way to kind of double expose your product offering, but it's also obviously going to increase your average order value. So a few examples of this would be in cart, in checkout, or post-purchase. One thing that we recommend is actually offering your own shipping insurance. This is an easy hack. And actually the majority, at least with the testing that we've done, we see that we have a very low uptick as far as people cashing in on their insurance, and rather it just being passive revenue for us. Another great e-commerce tip is bundling your products. So offering these single SKUs with maybe a couple dollars discount if you purchase them together. This not only, again, double exposes your products, but increases your AOV. If you're a Shopify brand, I recommend simple bundles. The reason for this is it allows you to create custom bundles with your single SKUs, but your warehouse and in the back end, the way that it comes through, they're individual SKUs, so it's not confusing. One of the biggest things is social proof. So again, if you are not shopping in an actual store, you're not going to see the people who are browsing with you, who are also interested in the products that you're picking up. So you're really just taking the cues online by social proof. And there's a lot of different ways to kind of showcase this. Some of the common ones are going to be star ratings and count on your PDPs or collection pages. Another one would be UGC gallery placements. It's very common to see that even on the homepage or your product detail page. And then one thing that we always recommend is really paying attention to your reviews on site, making sure that UGC is enabled on that, and customizing your filters. So filters are really awesome because let's say that you're a skincare brand. You want to be able to showcase and filter the reviews that are relevant for you. So, you know, your specific age, your type of skin, the desired result, whatever it may be, offering those filters allows you to customize the user journey. Another good way to show social proof is testimonial callouts, as well as press features. And these are great in your paid ad strategy too, either showcasing an individual review or putting as seen in Forbes or as seen in Glamour. All of that helps to build credibility and trust with your consumers. Okay, another one, this kind of goes back to mobile-first approach. One of the biggest things that I see is that brands are not paying attention to what's above or below the fold. When we say above the fold, that's really just referring to anything that loads on your device immediately without you having to scroll down. Best practice is CTA should always be above the fold. So here's an example here. Ritual does an amazing job of this. You can see the CTA. The call to action is clearly called out right there without scrolling at all versus the one on the left. There's not a whole lot of product education or information. Even the title takes up very valuable real estate. Okay, in conclusion, site performance has a direct impact on your ROI and your digital marketing efforts. You can have a super robust media buying strategy, but if your site is not optimized and ready for conversion, then your marketing performance will completely drop. So a good way to think about this, if you double your conversion rate, that's literally a 2x on your return on ad spend. And some future predictions.
All right, we'll try to breeze through this so we have time for Q&A.
You want to maybe go to Q&A first?
We'll just run through our quick predictions here. So AI and machine learning is going to automate media buying. This is actually one of the topics that I'm pretty passionate about. So there's a ton of human error that goes into media buying, almost day trading on the ad platform, not letting it do its thing. You don't understand the saturation curves of your audiences. You don't know how and where you should put your budgets to get that incremental revenue. You don't know if you dropped budgets, if you would get a higher return on ad spend on a certain campaign or an ad set, but that's at the human level. With AI and machine learning, we can look at these saturation curves in real time and actually have, you know, the machines giving you recommendations where to diversify your ad spend. Like if you took 20% of your budget from Facebook and brought it to Pinterest or to TikTok, you would get incremental revenue lift. And it is very possible. I've already seen these things in beta, and this is going to be rolling out soon, especially if you're going omni-channel on your digital marketing platform efforts. So this is something very exciting to keep an eye on. Live shopping, it's been big in Asia and China for years now, but it's coming stateside. And so live shopping, I think, is a new cool way to do product launches or product drops on Instagram Lives where consumers can actually go in there and purchase live while someone is explaining UVPs of the product, fielding questions, and creating a really cool experience and playing right back into that community that you're building with your brand and driving hype. Web3 is another thing. Everyone's big on the metaverse and everything like that. What that will do as we get more eyeballs on the metaverse and people are actually playing a role in it, there will be more ad real estate available there. So that should help create more possible impressions and drive down CPMs. So that's exciting in the world of digital marketing.
Another prediction is the rise in crypto payments. Although crypto is worth a lot less today, 2 weeks ago when we wrote this, hopefully the prediction is still there. Social commerce will continue.
Actually, to touch on that, Shopify actually announced today an integration with Crypto.com, and that's why their stock went up like 10% plus. So pretty ironic. We made that prediction here before that happened, but that's why Shopify skyrocketed today, in case you didn't know. So now people can actually purchase through various forms of crypto on Shopify brands. And they actually did a survey where they asked consumers for 2022, are they going to be making a purchase in crypto online from a brand? 40% of people said they plan on making a purchase through crypto. So start thinking about how your brands can accept forms of crypto payments.
Social commerce will continue to rise. So for those people in here that already have brands, you might have seen Facebook giving massive incentives to brands over the last few months to utilize their in-app checkout. We see it as a way to combat the iOS 14 update and for Facebook to still own a lot of that data. So we've seen Facebook literally give out ad credits in $50,000, $100,000 plus to brands to utilize their native checkout. Finally, as third-party cookies phase out and advertising conversion rates continue to plummet, 80% of marketers will likely abandon personalization efforts by 2025. So what this means is that in the past, pre-iOS 14, a lot of the ad buyers' tactics were audience hacking, so to speak, and creating content for specific audiences and prospecting. This has since really gone away and will continue to go away. And the audiences that advertisers will use will continue to get broader and broader.
Yeah, so with more competition, rising costs of digital marketing, a focus in retention is definitely happening. So really focusing on brand communities and how can you build that brand equity, that trust, and improve your customer retention. NFTs is going to be, at least we predict, will be a very interesting way to allow super fans of your brands to actually partake and be invested in the success and growth of your brand. We're going to see a rise in subscription models, obviously focus on email, SMS, and push marketing.
Here, as promised, you guys can take a picture of this or scan the QR code and you can get some of our favorite apps that we recommended. We'll give you guys a second to do that and we can get into some Q&A. Oh, we got Q&A. So for the first one, besides price, is there any other driving factors to choose Shopify over Amazon, or should both always be used? So Shopify and Amazon are two completely different beasts. They're, for one reason or another, there's a lot of Amazon sellers and there's a lot of Shopify sellers. It's actually kind of rare to see a brand doing both really well, but both really should always be used, unless I've seen at times where a brand wants to be that subscription-only brand, and for that reason, they might want to choose being on Shopify for that strategic reason, so you can't get their brand on Amazon and not get the subscription. But other than that, Amazon and just being on as many marketplaces as possible in today's day and age, trying to capture that fallout traffic from the ad platforms that you're buying on, or even organic that you're leveraging awareness on, is really important.
And then to touch on that, in a post iOS 14 world, if you're only on Amazon, you have zero first-party data of your customer base. Amazon controls all of your customer data. If Amazon decides to compete with you or kick you off the platform one day, you're done. So Shopify, you own all of that data. So if you're focusing all of your efforts on Amazon, that's great, keep it there, but start diversifying and get on Shopify as well, so you're building that first-party and even zero-party data. And in a cookie-less world where you're getting none of this third-party interests, and as targeting kind of goes away on these platforms, if you have a lot of zero-party and first-party data through your Shopify store, you'll be better off in the years to come.
Sorry, I do want to add something to that too. Just keep in mind that a lot of customers actually use Amazon as a discovery tool. So it's not necessarily either or. If you have a really great D2C strategy and you're ready to expand, know that Amazon is a beast. It's a beast to manage, and it's very competitive, but that gives your brand just extra exposure. And for those people who maybe have seen a social ad of yours, more than, I would say, and this is a guess, but I would say more than 50% will actually go to Amazon, check for reviews, because we've all been trained to check reviews on Amazon and use Amazon as a search tool.
That question just disappeared, but creators, how do you keep them engaged and deliver high-quality content over time? Is there a lot of manual work involved? So we see this as essentially like, just as you guys saw the funnel, for just traffic sources, we see that same thing when we're using creators. So we cast a very wide net when just trying to find people when we're not using platforms such as Incense. And as we see creators who deliver, number one, the best content, or the ones that are easiest to work with, or ones that are affordable and can fit the other two criteria, those are the type of people that we then engage for longer term contracts, whether it be either on monthly retainers where you have a specific set amount of posts per month, or beyond. So it's really trying to get them into that type of contract because it's really hard to find great creators at scale. So the ones that do create great content, you definitely want to get them on some sort of retainer or something along those lines.
And one thing that's important to keep in mind, you don't want to keep going back to the same creator time in, time again, because that ad fatigue will always set in. If your customers keep seeing that same person, kind of looks spammy at a given point in time. So we try to diversify and find as many new creators as possible to find maybe this one new creator, the 50th creator you found and used is the one that resonated best with your brand. So we like kind of running through as many different creators as possible, saving the ones that worked really well for another project maybe months down the road, but we don't want to keep going back to that creator time in and time again. And then Incense that Dan mentioned, so everyone knows that it's so hard to go and do manual outreach to find all these creators. You know, you need a whole in-house team and there's negotiations and it's very slow. Incense is a platform. Think of it as like your Upwork for creators. There's tens of thousands of creators, not just from TikTok, not just from Instagram, but YouTube as well, and Pinterest, and all the platforms you could think of. And all you do, it's a platform. You post your content brief, you post the terms, you know, whether it's just a product in exchange for a video, whether it's a $100 stipend for the video, and you actually get all the creators apply to your posting. So you just, you know, it's very low lift. You just make this job posting, you have the creative brief, and you have hundreds of applicants that are interested in your position. So you just choose them that way.
I'll say one more thing on that note too, is that the creators that you're working with, even if they're making great content, it's not, sometimes it's not even the most important thing. Sometimes it's really just certain physical traits about these creators that end up turning into the best performing ads. They might not even be doing the best job of talking about your unique value propositions and whatnot. So that's why it's so important, like I mentioned before, testing a very wide range of creators for ethnicity, body image, etc., other just different physical traits, because you'd be shocked at what you find. And oftentimes that's really led us into finding key things that led to scale for our brands.
And one last thing about the creators, because this is, you know, creator economy is everything. It's the rate limiting step for success in online, bar none. So we're very passionate about this. One thing to make sure you do when you're negotiating with creators, if they're on TikTok, always make sure ahead of time you ask them for Spark Code rights. What Spark Code means when they post it on their organic page on TikTok, you can actually amplify that post on their TikTok page now and drive millions of views. So if they're a micro creator, they have 2,000 followers, you can get 10 million views on that video through media spend, but only if you get the Spark Code from them. You don't want to have to get the creative back from them and then negotiate it. Now they want more, and now there's a back and forth. Always ask for that up front and make sure you drive that. That's essentially what like a whitelisting ad is on Instagram. Same thing for these Instagram creators. If they're making you content for Instagram, always ask ahead of time as part of the deal to get access to their Instagram and Facebook page to run ads directly from there. So you don't have to only run it from your brand page.
And finally, here is our socials, ways to get in contact with us, etc. If you guys want to take a picture, follow us, email us. Would love to stay in contact with some of you guys. And yeah.
Thank you all for having us.
Yeah, thanks everybody.